This is a recruitment agency, an HR agency, I suppose. They are placing engineers for startups. That's
for about 200 or 150 applications he made off campus. When I went through it, it was not, he not made stuff up.
These are founders who are running their business, successful business, most of them.
I think the fear is valid too. Your ability to turn around fast and turn around at reasonable prices has become your strong point.
Welcome. I'm Venkatarangan Thirumalai. You are listening to The Founder Catalyst. We are a show that talks to founders for founders, talking about various issues including AI and the various issues that all the founders care about today. Today it's a very special episode. I've got with me my friend Vineeth, who I know for 30 years. We are bus mates, I should say, rather than college mates. We both studied in the same college. Vineeth is a wonderful person. He brings in multiple talents. He is one person who's comfortable with the Visual Studio Code, with Excel sheet and term sheets, and also on a whiteboard. So which obviously means he's a technology person. He advises companies, various family office on their investment strategies. He sits on various VC boards, advises them. He advises various startups on the cutting edge, where they should be investing, where they should be very careful about and all that. And he also teaches students. That's something he's very passionate about on various subjects. Solar used to be one of his favorites many decades before, even before solar became a very big thing. So I'm very glad to welcome Vineeth. Vineeth, welcome to the Founder Catalyst.
Thank you, Venkat. By the way, it's 32 years now, not 30 years.
30, okay, time flies. That's wonderful. So Vineeth, let me start with this. What is the mood that you are seeing now that we are recording this in June 2026? What is the mood in startups and generally with founders? We leave the enterprises, large companies. We talk about small and medium-sized companies. What is that you are hearing on the ground from these founders?
See, I think what has happened is, in the beginning, there were some early adopters from founders for AI. I want to take this, let me do this, and so on and so forth, right? That early adoption, after that there was kind of a trough where the adoption among founders reduced. Some were skeptical, some were looking. Today I think there is a broad one, either if I have not jumped in, there is fear or misunderstanding of what can and cannot happen to their business. And for those that have jumped, they are seeing extraordinary opportunity present itself to them, right? So somewhere people are making that crossover or between that crossover at this time, and which is why I think you are getting a lot of questions regarding this topic.
Correct. So this episode, Vineeth, I wanted to be a little different. So in the forums where we were present, we both sourced questions from many founders. What were their questions about AI? And that's what I'm going to be asking you. It's more going to be a Q&A session rather than the usual interview formats. Now, do you see all the founders, all the companies that you are seeing are already started using AI, or still people are there in the fences? They haven't dipped their toes in the water.
See, some of them are experimenting, some of them have gone all in. A lot of them are skeptical and afraid. More skepticism has become fear now, saying what will happen to my business or what will I do, and so on and so forth. So I think it's a mixture of all of this that I am seeing today. It is not one particular thing.
Vineeth, we have many questions in the forum when we posted that we are doing this episode, and we want questions from founders of various sizes, but most of them are small and medium businesses. So I have got about 15 questions, but I'll try to ask you about 10. These are founders who are running their business, successful business, most of them. They have a fear about AI, or they don't know what to do. So that's the perspective most of them seem to be coming from. So it will be very helpful if you can throw what is that you're hearing from founders who might have done this journey successfully or with some challenges. And if you can share those anecdotal experiences, that will be useful for our listeners, because you bring in your perspective of talking to both the money guys and also the technology guys and the founders. You understand their fears very well. So the first one, this is interesting, from a company in Coimbatore. This person runs about 40 plus people, software service business. His clients are predominantly US clients. He's developing web applications and mobile applications for them. Revenue is about 6 to 8 crores, roughly 750,000, less than $1 million. His fear, he says, it's not about developers. I'm not worried about my developers not taking to AI and so on. It's my clients will stop asking me for large projects, and they will instead hire or ask me for one engineer, and with AI able to get 5x or 10x output. And slowly, instead of an IT service company, I'll become a as a staffing company with declining margins. So what do you tell this founder? I think the fear is very valid.
I think the fear is valid too, right? Because the founder is kind of looking at it from where things are today. And if you start looking at things, how they might move, say, 3 months, 6 from now, or it's already starting to move and he's not realizing, is that the nature of outsourcing and the nature of projects that he might do will end up being slightly different.
Okay.
Right? What I am seeing from others of similar size as his is the volume of work from the long tail has significantly gone up.
Okay.
Right? But your ability to turn around fast and turn around at reasonable prices has become your strong point. Right?
Okay.
In addition, what is happening is some of them have invested deeply in terms of how they approach the market, right? And there, the ability to use AI has actually brought down the cost of acquiring customers, their cost of doing business with clients, and so on and so forth, right? So I think he has to look at it from 2 or 3 different ways, right? How do I leverage AI internally in my organization to be able to?
That he says he's already doing. His developers are using AI.
Correct. Which means that then he should start thinking of it, for example, in terms of artifacts necessarily than more than products, right?
Okay.
Am I building artifacts? If you look at directionally, for example, today the most sought after request from people who have started using, say, Cloud or Cowork or something, and they are unable to complete is building artifacts.
Okay.
Right? Because artifact is slightly more than what a regular user can do, but extremely useful because they are able to visualize the value of artifacts.
Okay.
Right? I'm curious to understand from this founder how many artifacts he is building, what sizes is he building, right? If he is saying my average project size is say 75K to 200K, are you willing to take 15K orders that you can finish in 4 hours?
Okay, that's a very interesting point. So
Right.
you're saying instead of going for the very large orders, is less than $1 million. So I suppose his largest order will be 50K, 75K or recurring revenue totaling to that number in a year. But what you are saying is instead of that, go for smaller projects but turn around it faster, ensure your margin is better. Have I got it right?
That is absolutely correct. And for example, I'll give you something that people have done, right? They have built artifacts, they have built something for, say, a law firm in the US.
Okay.
Right? And that started as a $5,000, $10,000 4-hour engagement gets you so deep into the workflow that typically that expands to $30,000, $40,000 over a period of 6 to 8 months.
Okay.
Right?
So go rather than look at working with the client for a longer time, look at delivering to them faster. Is what you are saying.
Correct.
And the artifacts could also be agents. I could also create small agents for them and give it, because creating agents is not going to be so easy for everybody to do.
Correct. It is agents. It is, for example, where what I'm seeing there is workflow automation where it is not very straightforward, right? I mean, it is not where it is domain plus it is some amount of understanding of how to orchestrate that and so on and so forth, right? So it's a combination of this, and these can be built. Once they are built and once you are part of that workflow, it is very hard for people to get you out, right?
Got it. Interesting. Now, this is on the other side of the spectrum. This founder is from a digital marketing agency. He says, I started this company about 8 years back in Chennai. There are I've got about 60 clients. We manage SEO, content writing, social media. Even SEO has now changed and become AEO or
GEO, whatever you want to
and
call
all
it.
that. But he says today ChatGPT can write the same content, generate creatives, even suggest campaigns, run campaigns with agents. My clients are starting to ask, why do I need an agency when ChatGPT and Cloudwork can do? What should I be doing before they ask this question very loudly? It's I probably won't have an answer for it. So what do you think about this?
No, I think that is one of the spaces that's getting disrupted the fastest, right? So let me give you an example of somebody I really know. This person is a one-person company, organization, whatever you want to call, freelancer, sitting out of this place called Coimbatore in Chennai.
Vegetable market,
right? So I mean, not into the vegetable market itself, but in Chennai. And he is servicing one of the largest European multinational brands, probably one of the top 10 brands in Europe, automating their digital marketing workflow as one person doing about $300,000 in revenue sitting in Coimbatore.
Okay.
Right? This is a real person that He's about 21, 22 years old, and he's working as an independent
How is he
contractor
doing it?
for
Is
them.
he using AI, I
Right?
suppose?
Absolutely. All of
Okay.
it is AI, right? And his ability to use AI to implement workflows, right?
Okay.
Not just workflows in a very broad sense. Today, what's happening is if you are able to go deep into what specific requirements in marketing the client has, right? Can you build skills that are very relevant to that client? And when I say skills, I don't mean general skills, I mean the skills.md file, for example, right?
Okay.
Can you build skills.md? Can you
The
orchestrate
Claude skills,
Claude skills,
MD.
right?
Okay.
Can you build Claude skills that are very specific to me, so that not only are you doing something that's useful to me, but you are empowering my team to be 10x more productive,
Okay.
right? Can you build workflows where only when needed there is human in the loop, so that my turnaround time, for example, for all of this is much faster, right? And for example, there is turnaround time is a lot of the stuff is automated, where it can be automated, right? And outputs of automation where edge cases is handled is not trivial, right? I think what you should be doing if you are doing digital marketing for your clients is the routine process should be automated, and your expertise should be in taking the edge cases and handling them for the client, right? And there
Okay.
the value you will add will be significantly higher than what you are doing today.
So, for this person who's in Chennai running the 60 clients, you see a better future for him, or his whole business is at risk?
It can play both ways, right?
Okay.
I mean, I'm not going to lie and say everything is fine and dandy, but I mean, it's about his ability to understand how this might play out,
Okay.
right? And kind of look slightly ahead, right? If you are starting to look at AI as a competition, AI will replace you for sure. There is absolutely no two
take
ways
AI
about
as
it.
your partner and see how you can,
Correct.
like this person, write these skills and use AI to go to the next level of marketing, which was not
Correct.
possible before.
Correct. What can you do that the AI cannot do, right? I think that's the more important question, right? You can do judgments, you can have better context, right?
Correct.
You are
And also, the takeaway for me, as you said, what can I do with AI that I couldn't do earlier is
Correct.
the biggest takeaway from the example.
Correct.
I thought, see, one person doing $300,000 looks phenomenal. For 5 years before, if somebody has told 300,000 single person, we wouldn't have even believed.
Correct.
That's possible today with AI.
correct. I didn't believe it either until I met that person. I requested, I wanted to meet, and I
You saw
understood
his balance sheet, you saw his P&L.
that I didn't see, but I saw what he was doing.
No, I know. That's the first thing you ask many people.
Correct.
You sit in the Excel before you proceed anything else.
I mean, the ability of his to orchestrate so many tools together was pretty amazing.
Okay.
Right. I think that's where your value is going to be, right? Knowing which tool to use for what causes, and his willingness to use so many open source tools and stitch them together, right?
Okay.
Where token cost was so inexpensive, which is what actually I was very technically surprised, right? He was not using the run-of-the-mill standard models, right? He was using very specific models for specific things, which he had understood from the use case of what the client had, right? And
Interesting.
that kind of brought about a situation where tokens were extremely well optimized, right? So token maxing today, as you know, is becoming a big problem.
Yeah. That's a topic we'll take up. I'm very curious about that alone, but we'll take it up as a separate discussion. Now that we talked about Excel sheet, I thought the next question came correctly. This is a CA firm, a chartered accountant firm, who are auditing for their clients. He says, I'm running about 20-25% chartered accountancy firm. Most of them would have been, I suppose, interns who are doing their CA exams and all that. We handle audits, tax filings, GST compliance. We also do virtual CFO service for small businesses. AI now can draft advice, analyze financial statements, prepare reports. My fear is not losing clients because it's a regulated industry. My fear is client expecting the same work at half the fees. And how should I look at professional services of my accounting field now that AI has come into? That's an interesting angle. He says fear is not losing clients. That, I suppose, his confidence comes predominantly from the regulated industry. Even if AI does the auditing, you need a chartered accountant to sign off finally. But he says, the clients are going to ask me for discounts, at steep discounts.
I'm assuming you will even give 80% discounts. Why 50% discounts, right?
Okay.
The question is, are you profitable? And you will likely be extremely profitable, right? And I'm actually seeing that again. There's one CA startup firm from somebody came out from a chartered accountant from a Big Four, right here again in Chennai, but this time in Guindy. Right? No offense to other cities, I have not met a lot of you except if you have come to Chennai, but this is in Guindy, right behind Olympia Tech Park, where that person has 60-man, 50-member firm now, doing outsourced finance services for everything, right? And what has happened is that they're able to leverage the domain knowledge that they've had, and all these people are handling edge cases and verification, because today AI is not at a point where it can verify automatically, right? In compliance, there is no way you can take what AI gives as sacrosanct and
Sign off.
push it and sign off, right? So they're using it for that, but the agents are actually building and giving out 80-90% of what humans would routinely do, right? And when I asked them the mix of what they had about 36 or 38 people that were all chartered accountants, subject matter experts. They had about 3 or 4 developers, if I remember correctly, right?
Okay.
Only about 4 developers, all of them AI native developers. And what I realized was something very interesting, Venkat, right? And that is likely the same thing for this AI firm also, is that they come with no baggage, right? They're not handling legacy code, they're not handling anything. So with 4 developers who are youngsters, I think 3 of them are freshers from colleges, and one of them had some 1-2 years building stuff with
So the point
AI.
you're saying is, get a young AI native developers, rethink your whole IT solution. I suppose this company may not be having large IT, it's a 20-25 people company. Say they might have Tally or some other QuickBooks or Zogo books or whatever, or a combination of all of them depending on their clients. Now what you're saying is, look at taking these AI native youngsters, develop your own solution around AI to optimize what you're doing.
Correct.
Is that what you're suggesting?
I'm saying that the routine work that you can orchestrate, the workflow part of it, you should certainly automate.
Okay.
Right? You should do that. Where the value will be actually, Venkat, is the value added services that you can provide your clients, right? Stop thinking about providing features for your clients, but start thinking, saying, I'm not doing a GST compliance, but I have this understanding of your business because of your GST compliance, and see what you can do there.
That's interesting.
Right.
See, today that is one thing we don't get, right? In India, I'm a small startup. I don't get financial advisory services. Unless there is an investor who's taking that role for me, I normally don't get the best financial advice that my business needs. That's something we often see with founders. So you are saying, start providing that kind of service to these founders.
Because what you're sitting on is kind of the knowledge that you have not been able to leverage, because your time is going to doing things that you didn't have time available for, right? So
Interesting.
if you hand over some of your agency to AI, right, and AI is actually doing it, that frees up a lot of your time to be able to do
So
other
two ways
things.
of looking at it, to summarizing that point. One, see how I won't use the word cheaper, how more value you can add to your
Correct.
clients, what more can you start delivering to them?
Correct.
Okay, that brings again an interesting segue. This is a recruitment agency, an HR agency, I suppose. They are placing engineers for startups. That's the segment they're doing. They're doing about 2 crores annual revenue. AI can now screen resumes, conduct mock interviews, rank candidates. My fear is recruiters become irrelevant middlemen and my entire business will go away. What do you say to them?
Yeah, very likely, unless you adapt. Same
Okay.
answer all the time, right? Here is one student I met, right? Very interesting student. He is just passed out of college. In this age where placements are not happening, he is landed up with 6 offers from a very ordinary, very normal kind of college, nothing fancy,
Okay.
right? And I went and spent time with that student. For about 200 or 150 applications he made off campus. For every job he applied, he'd actually built out a resume, reading the JD.
Okay.
Right, he'd actually done 80.
So we talk about customized bespoke software, you're talking about bespoke resume.
Correct.
Okay.
He'd actually built out, and when I went through it, I mean, it was not, he'd not made stuff up. Right, he'd not made anything up, but he was able to understand from JDs how he should apply to what, because he understood what they were looking for, right? And the other side, talk about services companies, right? I mean, we've talked to numerous services companies today that don't know how to create a job for an AI agent engineer, for example, right? Or an AI agent administrator, for example, right? How do I even create something where I want a evals person, for example, since you're talking AI, right? How do I create an evals engineer? That role is going to come up, it's not there yet. How do I do this?
What is evals engineer in AI?
Right.
Very briefly.
An evals engineer in AI is somebody who actually says, it is like, let's assume this for simplicity's sake, it's like testing.
Okay.
Right, you wrote software, then you had software testing companies. Go back to the 90s, early 2000s. Both these functions typically were meant to be separate, in fact.
Correct.
Right. So, I mean, you would have one vendor doing the development, the other vendor doing the testing. About 25, 30
We even
years
have
ago.
the classic memes and the stories, right? The developers and the testers shouldn't be
Correct.
friends. they should be sworn enemies.
So today there is not enough testing happening in AI, right? And AI tends to work, as you all know, very well in the lab, but very poorly in the ground, right?
Okay.
And that whole thing is called evals very broadly.
Okay. So in this case, coming back to this recruitment firm, so you're saying start looking more, go take on an advisory role to the client, define his job roles for him, and also nurture your pool of candidates so that they can do this individual resumes and all that. Both the supply and demand side, the recruitment agency now should own and advise and take it. Is that?
Oh, absolutely. I think today there is a very big struggle, right? And I have seen ridiculous job descriptions, right? I need 5 years experience GenAI engineer. Where are you going to find them? I don't know how you'll find them, right? 6 years experience or 3 years experience with Cloud Code. I mean, I don't think Boris Johnson himself has 3 years experience in Cloud Code. So, I mean, that's the kind of description you keep seeing, right? And it shows that there is such a large
That's the classic
vacuum
joke,
there.
right? The inventor of JavaScript, he was looking at a resume and somebody said, somebody with 25 years of JavaScript. He
Correct.
said, I myself don't have it.
So that's the situation, real situation today, right? So
Very
I think,
true.
in fact, I'm the most bullish on recruiters.
Okay, because you see a lot of the students, the supply side, right? Because you train them in your academy.
Absolutely. I mean, the supply side problem is there. I mean, there is a demand side problem. Startups today are not able to hire that.
So there is a role for this middleman. So this company becoming middleman is not actually wrong. It's the opportunity where it lies, if I take
don't
it that
see
way.
it as a middleman. I see it as a bridge, right? Today, as a founder of a startup, I have no way to be able to hire
Brilliant.
such a pain to hire developers. And keep in mind, the so-called middlemen have a much larger role to play, because today to evaluate AI competency, right, it is not a test anymore, right?
Absolutely.
It is not a hackathon anymore, right? So the nature of evaluation has changed to what you are building.
Correct. See, I help some of my friends recruit these new AI engineers or AI architects. They find it very difficult because they are just conducting 1 or 2 interviews. But since I've been talking to a lot of them, I'm able to find out cues of these people. I won't say lying, exaggerating things. But as these recruitment firm, if they take a larger role, since they are helping for a lot of their clients, they can bring that value to the startups.
100%.
Okay, so we'll move on. This is an interesting question. I think we have got from a wide range of founders. This is an Ayurvedic skincare products online, a D2C company. Most of those companies we see online and Facebook, when we don't want to buy something, we go and buy. So, no offense to the founder, but the skincare company, their revenue is about 8 crores. A is helping everyone create ads, write product descriptions, launch stores faster. My fear is not technology. We are able to use this. My fear is A makes every brand, including mine, equally good and almost same. If everybody has the same marketing power, where does my differentiation come in? I think it's a very, very, very practical question.
This is something that needs introspection, right? I'm not able to give you a off-the-cuff answer for this. There have been instances where I have seen organizations, D2C startups, very positively leverage AI, right? Of course, one is product marketing, one is how they build out, but there are many other ways, right? I mean, for example, one way that I'm seeing some of them do it is they're using AI to actually create R&D teams.
Okay.
Right? Today, if I cannot afford, for example, I'm assuming at that scale and that revenue, you will not have access to what...
Correct. They are an Ayurvedic skincare company, I suppose. They won't even have a lab.
Right? You won't have access to what somebody else has.
Correct.
Today, I mean, there are people who have actually invested 30 lakhs, 40 lakhs, got something, built out a bunch of research agents, used Claude to do that, used Perplexity to do that, and they have some level of at least a junior R&D engineer kind of role available to them, where AI is playing that role, and they are spending maybe $1,000, $1,500 a month in tokens, and I think that is worthwhile being able to spend, right? So when you start saying the level playing field, some of these level playing fields is not just marketing and sales and branding. It is even an R&D that you can do.
We normally see, when we talk about AI in these companies, we think about software, we think about marketing. Those are the low-hanging fruits. What you are saying is inside your core business itself, try to leverage AI because it gives you access to those tools which you may not be able to afford earlier.
Absolutely. I mean, I am seeing some of them doing it very successfully. In fact, promoter who runs a chemical engineering company today he says, I dreamt of hiring an R&D. Today, I was my R&D and I have one more colleague as R&D. Today, I have 6 agents doing my R&D with me.
But like the caveat you were talking, they shouldn't believe everything, especially in a skincare company, everything about AI says, because we heard those things, right? AI talking about putting bleaching powder in your cake to make it good and all that. Of course, those AIs have come a long way, but still, you should take it with a pinch of salt.
Absolutely, but I mean, to get started to do literature survey, to do research, to understand certain things, correct, I don't think it's a bad idea.
Bad idea. In fact, I think last year, Thai Shift in Kevin Care, Kevin Care's founder was talking about they using in their logistics in their warehouse, and that's already saved them a couple of crores by giving everybody ChatGPT access. He's able to optimize his logistics in the warehouse, so that was a beautiful use case. Now we'll move on, and from Ayurvedic to Tamil Nadu's favorite industry, auto components, where we are number one in the country. I run a small auto components factory near Hosur with 150 employees. Everyone talks about AI, but I don't write software. We are not a software company. My actual fear is that larger competitors will use AI for pricing, procurement, forecasting, inventory planning, and slowly become more efficient than me. How should a traditional manufacturing business like me compete in this world of AI? We talked about taking advantage of logistics in the earlier thing, but this man says that becomes a threat to me because I'm a small auto components factory.
I think we haven't scratched the surface in terms of how manufacturing is leveraging it. What I'm seeing, I'll shift context and go perhaps to a Western context and come back to Indian context, right? In the Western context today, there is a manufacturing. There are large Fortune 500 manufacturing entities trying to automate certain processes, workflows inside their organization using AI, right? And in fact, incidentally, there are companies in Chennai doing that, doing about, for example, 200, 300K building agents for some of these manufacturing companies. I happen to know one of them, right? So I'll give you the context. Going there, understanding, decoupling the process and taking ownership and then institutionalizing and rolling out is about a 9 to 12 month process, right? For this person with 150 employees, I am assuming building slightly simpler agents is likely to be a 3 to 4 week process at most.
Okay.
Right? Which means that for them to even get and adapt AI, by the time they are there, you will be infinitely ahead in terms of what you've done with AI, right? If you have started, right? I think your fear that they will move way ahead of me likely is not going to play out. You will likely move way ahead of them, right?
Okay.
But what you do after that is something I will not be able to say, but you should be able to decide as the business owner, right? I am not an expert in auto components.
Based on what you're saying, I'm thinking for this person, he can use AI for better quality control, because auto components, that's where the small companies in Hosur mostly struggle. They have a lot of wastage. That with AI, with simple everyday cameras, with even models running on your Raspberry Pi, I think he can do a lot of the thing on the quality control. Eval type workloads.
Absolutely.
Okay, that's interesting. I have never thought of that.
Also, I'll tell you one more thing, Venkat. What is happening is some of these kind of research-oriented MSME founders who I've been meeting of late, right? They have had some external prompting, not the AI prompting, but prompting come to them. And they are aware that AI can actually spar with them in terms of their thinking, right? Whether it hallucinates or not, that's all different questions. It's certainly much better today than it was, and you can have guardrails, so on and so forth, to ensure that. But the broad point is, once they realize that potential, right? The most curious thing came from somebody who was running a MSME here, and he said, I've heard of AI kind of being a second brain. How do I build a second brain? Because today I'm unable to afford brains, I'm able to afford humans.
True.
Right? I mean, the R&D guys are sitting in Sriperumbudur with the multinationals, getting paid disproportionately what I can pay them, right? So today, I mean, whether you believe it or not, there is an MSME calling and saying, I want to build Obsidian and this thing and build a second brain. How do I do this?
Like
do you
the
know
Singapore
somebody?
Foreign Minister Vivian Balakrishnan.
What Vivian did exactly, right?
Okay.
I mean, he's got inspired from some of those things and he's asking, can I build
let me connect. That's a beautiful point, Vineeth. Now, this person should be working with the first person we talked about, the Coimbatore service company, should start working with this SME, get his capability on agents before he takes it to the US client. Now, I don't see many of our Indian IT service companies focusing inwards to our own business. Everybody only wants to look outwards. But unless they validate their business with a local SME here, how do they expect to be sold to the US, right?
See, I will give you the bad news and the good news, right? We'll go with the bad news first,
okay,
right? If you're building features, it is very difficult to survey.
Okay.
Right? I think features will be replaced reasonably quickly and better by AI, right? and the ability of AI to deliver complex features will improve over time. There's
Got
no
it.
doubt about it, right? If you are building something beyond features, something of value, right, some understanding you have, right, there is no way, I mean, context engineering, as you know, in AI is a big deal. I mean, there is no context AI has. You have to provide the context, right? So if you're in those spaces, I think your ability to deliver what you may be delivering will be significantly high in terms of value. To bring to this, to your notice, Venkat, this is something that very surprisingly Maharashtra government has seen it first. So Maharashtra, the first state to come out with an AI policy, where they are giving MSMEs 30% or 40, I can't remember the number now, but 30% subsidies to implement AI solutions.
Fantastic.
And there is government grants.
So the new possibilities, as we are talking, I was reminded of when you said AI beyond features, I was reminded of Good to Great book, the classic book by Jim Collins, where he says it's not technology. When he compares those companies, if you have those listening, if you haven't read that book, you should. Good to Great. What is the other one by Jim Collins? The two books he wrote. Good to Great was the first one. Anyways, you'll be able to find it on Google. Now, he says it's not about technology because he compares companies of equal pairs in Boeing versus others and all that. He says it's not technology, it's about a larger purpose. Companies which had a larger purpose, we call it vision, mission, whatever, they are able to survive then. So that's what you're going. So if this automobile company, auto components company should say my quality of whatever radiator caps are the best, like Sundaram Fasteners used to say, our radiators cap are the best in the world. So they should more focus on that. Interesting. We'll move on. We'll come to a legal at the other side of the spectrum. This is a founder, a lawyer I should say. We help companies with contracts, compliance and corporate filings. Okay. A can review contracts faster than all our junior lawyers and interns. My fear is the training ladder for my interns and lawyers goes away. If A does all the junior level work, where do future experts on my field will come from? It's a very large question, but can you take a small take at it?
I think it's a very interesting question. Today, the largest adoption in the US in terms of where AI is being adopted is one of the largest is the legal firms.
Legal firm, okay.
Right? The most replaced role by AI agents is paralegals.
Okay.
Right? And this is not because they are not hiring, this hasn't stopped them from hiring paralegals. Right? What it shows is there is so much of demand and value addition that people are being able to build on top of that. Right? So there are 20 open positions and 12, 14 of them are not getting filled. Right? Because by nature the number of lawyers coming out is way less than what the demand is. Right? If you are qualified, if you are able to do it.
And with AI doing more of, I won't say pirating, copying and taking, the copyright cases are going to skyrocket, I suppose.
Absolutely. I mean, see, just think about it. I mean, you remember, you and me remember this very well, right? Till DMCA came out in 2000, right? Till that Digital Millennium Copyright Act came. I mean, MP3s of all music everywhere was floating around. Nobody had any thing. Napster, I mean, if you remember Napster, right? So, I think things like that will start coming in, right? More importantly, today, I think what is essential is understanding how ethical your solutions, AI agents are behaving, right? What kind of guardrails are you enforcing, right? And so on and so forth. So, there's a lot of value in, I think, how legal is going to start looking at if AI is my co-worker, how do things play out? I mean, this is an HR problem, this is a legal problem, right? And I think that is where the value added, the leads lawyers are going to bring in.
See, I can think of an example, 25 years plus before when I started working with US clients, very large US clients, they will give me a standard contract to sign. It will be all in the US court of law. I won't understand it. I mean, I give it to any lawyers here. They will refuse to see it because it's a US court of law. They can't want to give an opinion because it is on a law they are not expert on. Legally, they can't give me an opinion. But as a startup, I don't have access to go to a US lawyer, but I have to sign. Now, I'm definitely risking, that's a survival question. Now, at least with ChatGPT, I can try to understand that contract and ask it to explain to me in Indian equivalents so that I can get a friend of mine to compare and form an opinion. This is not I'm not getting a legal opinion, but I can make an understanding before I sign. And also a law firm, if they are doing cross-border, earlier they had to depend on their counterparty, a Chinese contract, whether it is in Chinese or something. Now they can form an opinion and then use them. For the regulation purpose, they can use them. But for just reading and translating, they don't need to depend on somebody else.
Absolutely. And I think, see, my sense is law firms will become just one of the largest, most valuable KPOs in the.
I'll ask
in
you
the
this,
business.
since you came into that question straight away. As a VC, wearing your VC advisory role, will you invest on a law firms today if somebody comes to you?
Absolutely,
Okay.
100%. Right. I mean, there are chartered accountant firms in Chennai, right, raising million and a half dollars today.
Wow.
Right? This is really happening. I mean, it's happening even before you ask, and they have oversubscription. They have angels from the US that want to invest, and I don't even think they're taking money here.
Fantastic.
Right? And they grew from 14 people to 60 people, right? And they are an AI firm, mind you. Then you can imagine how much of what they are doing, right?
Interesting. I'll come with one last question and then we'll wrap up. This is on the completely other side of the spectrum. This is a logistics company, a small logistic company. Probably, I guess he handles the port freights and all that, I'm guessing. But he says, I'm a logistics company with 70 trucks. AI can optimize my routes, predict delays, negotiate freight rates, schedule deliveries, and all that. We are able to see that. My fear is that technology becomes a real competitive advantage than my operational excellence of actually delivering it on time. Can smaller logistics firm like mine still compete in this field? His question, if I were to rephrase, I suppose it's all about optimization and going at an extreme level. Do my personal touch and my operational excellence, does it still matter?
That's a very interesting question. First question is, where do you benchmark yourself in terms of where you are with what AI is able to do? Right?
Okay.
And are you able to make the right judgments? Again, I mean, now you go back to the challenge of AI, right? AI is always not right.
Correct.
Right? You ask a question that my car wash is 100 meters away, should I walk or drive? They'll tell you walk to the car wash, right? I mean, so that is the level of AI also today. So I don't think your critical decision making is outsourced to AI, right? To that extent, I think if you already have operational excellence, you will be able to evaluate what AI is telling you more critically. Right?
And it's also about the relationships they have in freight, I suppose.
Absolutely.
With your airports and your ports. It's all about the relationship they have with the authorities there, the efficiency with the port handlers, everything, lot more than AI.
Again, I will switch this thing, right? Today you're talking about efficiency. With efficiency, you will have multiple levels for efficiency, right? One is time, one is cost, so on and so forth. But what you're not talking about is, because of being efficient, how much room does it create for you to add value? Right? And I think you should move to that value creation part rather than being stuck in this part, right? Again, if you have AI agents and you have built agents that can take agency, then your capital as time gets freed up.
Okay.
Right? How are you expanding that, right? If you're looking at AI from a very cost perspective, I think you have not got the full game yet.
So, if I were to summarize, double down on agents so that on the efficiency part, so that you can focus on the operational excellence more. Is that
right? You will service more people. You will end up doing way more.
Your magic sauce, you can add more.
Absolutely.
It frees up your time for your magic
Correct.
sauce. Fantastic. So let me ask you kind of a summary question. This question beautifully wraps up all the things we discussed. I'm going to give you a imaginative scenario. Assuming there are 3 founders sitting in front of us right now. First is a SaaS founder doing about 10 crores ARR. Second is a IT services founder with about 100 employees. Third one is a traditional business owner doing about 50 crores in manufacturing. Which of these 3 should be the most worried about AI and which one should be least worried?
Should the founder be worried or the organization be worried? That's the other question that I have for you now that you're asking me. Right?
Which of the 3 founders? We are top founder catalysts. So which of the 3 founders should be worried?
Then the reason I asked that is important, right? I think the founders being worried is a good thing, right?
Only the paranoid survive.
You can say that, but the ability to act, and given the Intel share price likely it is right now, right? But the ability to act is very important, right? There are founders sitting and I think the ones with the most valuable culture that they have built is likely going to survive the strongest. It doesn't matter which industry, right? I think AI over a period of time is going to go all places. There is no denying that, right? Will it go at the pace that everybody is saying it will? Very unlikely, right? 15 years from now is likely going to be all over the place like today an iPhone is, or today the internet is, very likely, right? So, I mean, how quickly, how fast, how slow, all these things.
So the SaaS founder or the IT service founder, traditional business, who should be very worried?
The one who's built the poorest culture in their organization should be the most worried, right? It doesn't matter who you are, right? I mean, and And the reason I say that is because how you bring AI as something that's going to be an enabler into your organization is going to determine how you win or lose. Right? I think that is the most important point,
So,
rather than where you are. I mean,
today, traditionally, everybody is talking about SaaS going away with AI. Out of those three, if I were to ask 10 people, they will say the SaaS founder should be the most worried.
SaaS will likely go away. I mean, software as a service might go away. Not everything is going to go away. If you're building software as a service where you're building features, very likely you will go away.
Okay.
Right? If you are building something from depth of the vertical that you are doing, very unlikely you won't go away. I mean, complex workflows today are not going to be replaced, and AI is very poor in replacing certain of these workflows, right? So, it is very contextual. Will 70% or 80% of so-called SaaS go away? Very likely, right? Will 20% remain? Again, very likely, right? So, the broader adaptation will be SaaS will continue, but software as a service will become service as a software. That's all that's going to happen, right? And I've been talking about this for a long time, and you're aware of this. Now, Anthropic has launched a services company, OpenAI has launched a services company.
Correct.
In fact, one of the latest entrants or the first SaaS native company to come is Gainsight. Gainsight has now launched AI native services business. There are VCs talking about it. In fact, there's a YC podcast a few days ago talking how to build AI native services.
See, in fact, real estate became a big thing, right? NVIDIA saying you can run your own data centers, I'll pay you. So
Correct.
real estate has become a big business as well.
Correct.
So beautiful. Thank you so much, Vineeth. It's been wonderful. I think we covered about 7-8 founders' question. We have another 7 or 8. Maybe one other episode we can take them up. I like the perspective of looking at the new opportunities where we normally don't see how AI can be your partner. And you were also frank on areas where AI is really going to be a threat. So it's going to be a mixed bag. So I leave the founders who are watching this to analyze your scenario, talk to a lot of people. Unlike 20 years back, 30 years back when we came into the industries, there are many forums today available for you to go and interact with both Gen Z founders, with established founders, get various ideas, and then maybe even ask ChatGPT and Claude and get various perspectives. And at the end of the day, we all know with founders, the buck stops with us. And we know it's a big responsibility. That's where people like Vineeth, who bring in multiple perspectives, are able to shed light and help us. Thank you, Vineeth.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hello. Recently, the Australian design company Canva allowed candidates who are sitting for interview in their company to use AI tools like Copilot and Cursor. At first, it sounded a radical approach, but then thinking and reflecting, I realized it's the next logical step that our interview process have to evolve, not necessarily in technology companies alone, but every industry. Why do I say that? Because today, the interview, what we are looking for candidates is not their memory recall of how well they are able to remember a manual, a syntax, or a process. Those the AI tools are certainly going to be better than the humans. What do we want the candidates? We want to bring their curiosity, their adaptability into the job. So we are looking for candidates who have these skills. And once you decide that you are going to allow AI tools in your interview process in your company, how do you do it? There are 3 steps that you have to do. Number 1, tell the candidates, be transparent to them before the interview that they're encouraged to use AI tools. And second, when you allow them to use these AI tools, look for how well they are able to use this in the real world problem, which means you have to decide real world problems in your interview questions, because real world is messy, real world is complex. Real world is not a textbook where you can look at a classical algorithm and just apply. So give a real world problem to the interviewing candidates and then look at how they are able to classify the requirements, break it down, how well they are able to iteratively think with the AI, without AI, and then give it to the AI. Number 3, look for candidates who are able to use the AI in collaboration for their productivity improvement. And these are not candidates who will just parrot the AI output, but actually think it through and use it effectively. Lastly, remember, you are not hiring candidates for today. You are hiring candidates for your future of your organization who will be able to build it. Thank you.